Hey guys, welcome to the start of another restoration project. I'm not including this in the Predicta, but it's certainly related because this has a lot in common with the Predicta sets. It came out about the same time, late 50s, 58, 59, 60. Uses the same picture tube, 17-inch. It's either a DA or DRP4. That's a very short form factor. And I believe the circuit boards are fairly similar in size. Let's see, it's a rather shallow set, especially for the time period. This does have UHF. This one has this gigantic UHF knob on the side. These are really hard to come by, and often they're broken or missing bits. This one seems to be completely intact and working, which is fantastic. There were several versions of this. This is a Seventeener III. I have not worked on a Seventeener before, but I've seen them both in person and on other YouTube channels, and I've looked at the service info a little bit, so I know a little bit about them. Basically, it's a portable Predicta, I guess is one way to think of it. I believe there is no power transformer, so it is series strung. So it's sort of a weird hybrid because all the other 17-inch Predictas are powered from a power transformer, but I don't think this one is. That's how they get it into a smaller size, and it weighs a little bit less because there's no power transformer, but it's still pretty hefty. One of the notable features of this is the handle. Notable because it's not just a handle, it's also the antenna. So for the handle part, you grab this, which is stitched leather, 2 hoops. It's intact, but it's deteriorating a little bit. Now, if you haven't seen these type of handles before, it's not all leather. Inside of this is actually a piece of metal. So even though this is cracking and deteriorating, it's not going to snap in half and the set will go crashing down. There is a metal strap inside that takes the bulk of the weight. The antennas, pull out the ends, and it swivels. These are intact, which is great. Knobs on top are in pretty good shape. There's the same type of finish, I believe, like on the Predictas, where it's some sort of chrome steel that's got a brass tinted coating or some such. I don't recommend doing anything to these except cleaning them with a damp cloth, because it's very easy to wear this away. Certainly don't use a metal polish on it. The brass color will just disappear before your eyes. You have the original power cord, and the seller, we powered it up when he dropped it off. I think the person he bought it from had already powered it up, or he had on its own. I don't remember exactly how things went, but I do know that while it was here when he dropped it off, we plugged it in and turned it on. I can't remember if we hooked up a signal source or not, but we definitely got very bright raster with snow. So I'm going to try doing that again, and I want to definitely feed in a signal source, because I want to get some idea of what we have to work with here. Both what condition is it in, and what do I need to order. I do know the TV restorer guy, this same gentleman who makes the replica networks, couple 8 networks for the other models, also makes them for the Seventeener. But I need to determine what exact flavor of Seventeener I have to make sure I order the right set. Since we got a raster and it was bright, I'm pretty darn sure the picture tube is fine, but it doesn't hurt to double check that. And I just want to take a look inside too. I don't know, has it ever been serviced before? It looks to be in fantastic condition. We do have a label on the back, which I guess it was serviced, by Carl Gebhardt TV Sales and Service, 5415 West Lisbon Avenue. I don't know what state that's in. That West certainly could exist in Chicago, but I've never heard of a Lisbon Avenue. And there's no area code or anything else to indicate what state or what city we're talking about. Oh well. This is in really, really good condition. The front and the back are plastic. The middle part is some sort of leatherette type faux coating. Nifty knobs on the back for Horizontal, vertical, and brightness, the same color as the rest of the plastic. Very nice orange brownish kind of color. Let's see, I can see there's some screws on the back. I presume well, looks like one's missing here. There's 4 across the top, and maybe just one on the bottom coming up near the power cord to get the back off. But first, let's power this up and see what we get. You can see here on this trim too, I didn't realize that it's painted. That's just this gold paint, and it's worn through here down to the orange plastic. So this must just all be molded in one piece of plastic, and they just painted the trim, which is good because that'd be easy to touch up if one wanted to. And the front has the same type of plastic like the 17-inch sets do. There are a few light scratches. This one's a little deeper, but I don't think there are any cracks or anything. Looks to be in good shape. Seems like it's just slightly loose. That's why I'm pressing on it. Anyways, let's hook it up and see what we get. I'll be curious to get some feedback from you guys if the lighting is any better. I dug up this cheesy lamp we bought a while ago at Home Depot for $20 and hooked it up along with the usual shop light that I use. So this video is illuminated a lot better than my usual videos. Now, I looked all over this set except on the bottom, and there were no external antenna inputs, which I find especially odd given it has a UHF option. Where's the UHF antenna? Do they just tap into this? I don't know. But what I did is just took a signal source, 75 to 300 ohm balun, and clipped it to the antenna terminals. And away we go. PR57 as always, in case it draws too much current. I believe the set is turned off right now. There we go, it is on. Dim the lighting a little bit. So initial draw should be the tube filaments. As they heat up, they should start drawing power. Boy, do we have a lot of buzzing. It's definitely doing something. I think this is my signal. Wow. I suspect we have a bad electrolytic or two, so there's an incredible amount of hum getting through. Seemed like we could almost kind of pick something up. I'm going to try it again. It's brightness. That's horizontal hold. I'm going to try this again. I looked at the controls in the back, so it's brightness, horizontal hold, vertical hold. Seems like the tuner's off a bit too, because I'm having to go with the fine tuning to one extreme. So kind of get something. Alright, we're not going to run it anymore. It has some major hum. I'm sure one or more electrolytics are just completely open, and the set's really getting hammered. I don't want to risk damaging anything. Clearly it's not going to lock, but the picture tube is good, the flyback is good, the power supply, and the tuner's working. All the major circuits seem to be doing what they're supposed to be doing. We just have some possibly, well, we can't have any tubes that are open, otherwise the set wouldn't work. But certainly there could be some weak tubes, but I'm sure there are some electrolytics that are open, because when that happens you get that just relentless hum. It doesn't even react to the volume control. So let's take a look inside. I'm working on taking the back off. Only 3 of the 7 screws were present, 2 up top and 1 on the bottom. And hey, what do you know? There are external antenna inputs. The UHF is missing both the screws. VHF, they're there, but one of the terminals looks like it kind of melted or broke away. Here is the exact model number. So, I didn't touch that yet. That was already kind of falling out. So, somebody's been in here, clearly, and, well, we'll see what they did to it. Also notice there are a bunch of screws. I'm hoping I take the plastic back off. I take off these screws on the bottom, disconnect the picture tube, speaker, and the whole chassis will pull out. Time for drum roll. Let's see what's inside. I think. Yes. Ooh. Yeah, somebody definitely did some tinkering. Oh, there go the knobs. So, there's some kind of monkey business going on down here with the VHF connections. There's alligator clips inside the case. With an awful lot of wire, which would certainly degrade the signal. Okay, good. Those stuff clip and we can take it away. Boy, I don't know if somebody tried gluing this, or if they tried soldering and just melted the heck out of it, but that is ugly down there where the VHF inputs are. And that's important because, well, unless the owner of the set sets up his own home broadcast system, he's got to hook up an external signal, so we need to get those terminals working. Yeah, it is series strung. Here is the tube lineup. Quite a bit different than the other. Well, I shouldn't say quite a bit different. It's just oddball voltage versions. Well, there's a few differences. For example, the 17-inch conventional models, console models, use a 6DR7. This is 13DE7 for the horizontal output. And a 6CG7 for the horizontal oscillator. This is a 9AU7. The damper and the horizontal are the same, just different voltages. Phase comp diodes 2E and 5. I've never had a use for those before. Audio output 12ED5. Huh, there are some tubes in here I have never encountered before. Wow. 12ED5. I don't think I've sorted through so many tubes. You kind of get to know them, whether or not you've used them, you've seen them. That one does not ring a bell. Anyway, this is what you want to see, I'm sure, not a tube chart. Let's just get this silliness out of the... Oh, yuck. Man, duct tape, alligator clips, yeah. We'll put some new twin lead in here and get all that cleaned up. Anyways, there she is. Yeah, and not to knock on Philco, this is how portable, luggable sets go from the late 50s, 60s, probably into the 70s. They wanted to make them as slim as possible. I was just watching Shango's channel, and he had some painting Packard Bell Astronaut, and some of the tubes were mounted at angles to kind of conform to the slope of the back to get it packed in there as tight as possible. In this, rather than doing that, they mount all the tubes either tucked underneath the picture tube and pointing out towards us, or on this side, they're packed as close to the side as they can, and they're mounted vertically. Okay, so this inner part is metal with, it's not, I was mistaken. Well, I thought it was sort of a faux leather, right? I think it's a textured paint that they used. Okay. Well, I'm going to be very careful not to scuff that up, because I don't know how long it would replicate it. Oh boy, and dial stringing. Oh boy, that is not something I ever want to mess with, so we'll be very careful with that. That is for, what is that for? Ooh, well, okay, it's for the UHF tuner. It is moving so slowly, imperceptibly, I couldn't really see it, but yeah, there it goes. Alright, I'll stop rambling and go through this. VHF tuner, this copper box is a UHF tuner, which is an optional add-on, so it's just kind of shoved in here in a weird spot. That's obviously the horizontal stuff. I did a Town and Country a few years back, which came out a couple years after this set, I would say. And this board looks very similar. And as memory serves, underneath here is where the electrolytics are going to be in the selenium or maybe silicon rectifier. That is the IF strip. I think it's going to be very, very similar, if not identical, to what is in the Predictas, maybe just different tube lineup. And below that, what is that down there? I do believe that is the sound, and either that or that, maybe the video amp. So whereas on the 17-inch Predictas they combine the sweep and the video amp and the sound circuitry all on one board, here they split it up with the sweep and the sound IF stuff, and the video IF strip is in this box behind here. We've got controls up top. Oh, that's where the power supply is. Huh. There are the silicon rectifiers. There's a fusible resistor. Looks all original, very clean, very nice. Got a little wiring harness up there. It's probably a filter choke for the power supply. Just a closer look at the tuner. UHF. Just going to have one tube in here, down convert it from UHF to VHF. There's the death cap, most likely. It's probably a 0.1 microfarad cap right across the AC line. So, even more so than the Predictas, these things are a pain to work on. As I say, as are all portables I've ever worked on, because you can't get at anything. If we just wanted to try swapping out a cap and see how it goes, how? You basically have to take the whole darn thing apart and replace all the parts and hook it all back up and hope for the best. Maybe. Now, let's talk about positives. This has never been worked on, other than whatever the heck they hacked up with the antenna inputs. This looks untouched. Okay, maybe some tubes have been replaced, but I say that because this piece of masking tape is untouched. The original screw is here. I'm not seeing any parts that have been replaced. Very nice. So now what? Well, it seems like the logical next step is to get some service info. I was able to get the schematic from radiomuseum.org. It is a 1959 chassis. You can tell that by the designator. It's 9H25U, the 9 being for 1959. It is similar to a Predicta schematic, just a little bit different tube designators, and things are laid out a little bit differently. Well, let's focus on the power supply because we have a horrible hum. It uses a voltage doubler right off the AC line, fusible resistor to limit the surge current. We've got this guy, which could be suspect. And certainly either one or both of these on either side of that filter choke, big 1 Henry filter choke, which I'm sure is what that guy is up there. So notice we don't see any can electrolytics. Where the heck are they? Pretty sure they're all down here and not easy to get at. I will attempt to get this open and tack in some replacements. If I can't get at it easily, save it for later, but let's see what we can do. Well, turns out I was completely wrong. As the sign indicates, there's high voltage present. So what do you suppose is under here? The flyback and high voltage rectifier, which look to be in fine condition. That is the original Philco. It looks like we do have some rust up there, though. So where the heck are the electrolytics? I'm thinking now they might be behind this circuit board. Or where else could they be? The tuner's taking up that space. VHF tuner taking up all that space. There's nothing up top. Speaker, probably audio output transformer. Possibly they're in front of the flyback. I'm still searching for the 1959, but I did find a 1960. And it contains a 10H25, whereas I have a 9H25, but they look to be pretty darn similar. The tube chart, tube layout is identical. And here is component layout, and holy origami. Wow. Okay, for starters, I was wrong. That's the vertical output transformer, that big guy over there. And that little one appears to be the filter choke. So then we have the IF board, sound, horizontal output. So this is looking at things like this. So here's where electrolytics are, E1, E2, E3. But I can't tell from looking at this where they are in relation to everything else. So the top part is looking at it straight on. Okay, we got all that stuff. And then this is looking at it from, let's see, damper, horizontal output. So looking at it like this. I think so. Okay, so all that stuff is in the front. I do wonder, though, does the front of this come up? Well, you can certainly take the front off just by taking 4 Phillips screws out, 2 on the side, 2 on the bottom, but wah, 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 no. You can't actually do anything other than clean the screen, which is a good thing. It would definitely needs it. Wow. But we don't have access to anything. Oh, I suppose if you took this off, that's holding the picture tube in, so no. We just got to pull the whole darn thing out. There's no other way around it, and I'm not going to do that till I get all the first full service info, so I'm afraid I'm going to break it off here, because I've reached the point where I need to I need to know more before I want to continue to take anything apart. But I know enough. I know what model it is. I know the key parts are good. I have a schematic so I can order up some stuff. Meanwhile, I want to find some assembly instructions. Now, I know plenty of other people have restored these, so I'm also going to look for some restoration diaries, write-ups online in the forums and whatnot. And hopefully somebody's posted some photos of taking this apart. Now, I'm pretty sure what I need to do is take the remaining screws out underneath that hold the chassis in. And, well, let's turn it around. Alrighty, so there are some screws down below. They're going into these plastic standoffs. Those need to come out. And then just going around the perimeter, I'll have to take that screw out, pull that knob out, take out these screws maybe. Looks like it goes into a slot. We may or may not have to take those 2 out. Or maybe these 2. Take that knob off, take that screw out. And that should do it. The speaker, boy, is that really hardwired on? It sure looks like it is. That's annoying. Or at least it's wrapped on. I can unwrap these. Wires are getting kind of sticky as the plastic is outgassed. The UHF knob will have to come off. Alright, you know what? I will try to pull this out. It does look like it's pretty straightforward. It's not that dissimilar to the Town and Country set. Well, that is not quite what I expected. I did take off the sheet metal screws around the perimeter and I got the shell off. Did have to disconnect the speaker by just unwrapping the wires going to the 2 terminals and thread the twin lead for the built-in antenna out through the back. Then you can pull the whole thing out. But that doesn't really gain us much more access than we had before. Cool, the picture tube's attached to it, and you can pull the whole thing out as a unit. However, we still can't get to the electrolytics. We can just finally see one of them poking out, but we can't get to it. It looks like this is a sub-assembly from this. So I could take these 2 screws out, maybe. Well, at any rate, clearly we can't just get in there and tack in a couple new caps. It's you got to go all in. So now I'm going to cut off the video because I definitely want to read up more now, order up all the parts I need, and get some advice from others that have gone before me and worked on these, because I bet there are some tips and tricks I don't know about when it goes to taking this apart. But for sure we can see there's one big electrolytic in here. It's going to be a multi-section. And then there's part of another one going to be down in this area. And I believe there's a final smaller one in the middle. And they are completely impenetrable. Clearly these sets were not made to be serviced. Getting into the 60s, we're starting to get into the era of disposable electronics, I suppose you could say. Planned obsolescence, I don't know. I mean, at least you can get at the tubes and swap those out. But I can't imagine any serviceman back in the 60s wanting to get in here and replace an electrolytic. The amount they would have charged, it probably would have been more practical just to buy a new TV. Alright, that is going to be it for now. I hope you liked, enjoyed this journey of discovery into a Philco Seventeener Type 3 from 1959. When we pick up, I will tear this whole thing apart.